Can you hear me all right?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does the star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Honored guests, fellow Hall of Fame inductees, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Army Aviation Hall of Fame's 27th induction ceremony. Please charge your glasses and join me in a toast. Here's to our inductees, our armed forces everywhere, particularly those deployed tonight and their families, and all our past, present, and future warriors who protect freedom worldwide. Hear, hear. Hear. And now, Chaplain Colonel Sonny Moore, please deliver the invocation.
From the rising of the sun till the going down of the same, let the name of the Lord be praised. Would you bow and pray with me? Our Heavenly Father, we give you thanks tonight for the joy of being together, for this special event as we salute and celebrate the lives of 6 great men who will be inducted tonight in the Army Aviation Hall of Fame. God, we thank you for each of these men. Thank you for the life they've lived, duty, honor, country. Lord, they have gone the second mile and served beyond the call of duty. And Father, they've inspired all of us, encouraged us to do our best. And Lord, we know tonight they could answer two of life's great questions, and that is, did I do my best, and did I make a difference? And God, these men have done that. They've answered that. And so tonight we could say with our Savior, well done, good and faithful servants. Lord, thank you tonight for Quad A and for this recognition. Thank you for the program we've had today and we'll have tomorrow. Lord, we would pray for the families. Thank you for families that stood by these soldiers and enabled to love them and supported them through the years. Lord, tonight now we pray that for the food and the drink and the fellowship we're going to have around these tables, and we just give you thanks for it all. Then give us a good night's rest. Lord, hear our prayers. Forgive our sins, and God bless America. We pray in our Savior's strong name. Amen. Amen.
I want to announce I'm Hal Kushner, and I am substituting for our chairman of the Hall of Fame, CW5 Randy Jones, who had a personal emergency, a family emergency this afternoon, and we were notified that he could not be here. So I am substituting for him. I've done this before, but I was notified at 3 o'clock that Randy wouldn't be here, so I'm stepping into the breach, and if there's some stutter steps, I hope you'll forgive me. Tonight, we celebrate the 48th anniversary of the Army Aviation Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame is a real hall. It's located at Fort Rucker, Alabama, where portraits and citations of the inductees document their very valuable contributions to Army aviation. As a result of the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, 2 class years of 3 individuals each will join those inductees who have made an indelible impact on our branch and indeed upon organic Army aviation itself since its inception 77 years ago on 6 June 1942. Counting our new inductees, there are only 178 people in the Army Aviation Hall of Fame. These people represent a broad spectrum of our community, including 109 officers, 34 warrant officers, 23 enlisted, 9 aviation industry individuals, and 3 government employees. 19 members of the Hall of Fame have received the Medal of Honor. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like now to recognize the President of the Army Aviation Association of America, Major General Retired Tim Crosby. He was my dinner companion. Next, will the trustees of the Hall of Fame please stand to be recognized? And joining them, all members of the Army Aviation Hall of Fame, please stand. Thank you. Now, before we begin this evening's inductions, we have 6. Please welcome again the Commanding General, United States Army Aviation Center of Excellence, Major General David J. Francis. General Francis. General Francis will join us on stage to assist with the induction of our new members into the Army Aviation Hall of Fame. And now it is my privilege to begin the Army Aviation Hall of Fame's 27th induction ceremony. Our Master of Ceremonies since 2017, Mr. David Hartman, and my friend, the first host of ABC's Good Morning America, is unable to be with us this evening. However, he has provided the voiceover for our inductee videos, as he has done for the past 6 years. We wish him well and anticipate his return at our next induction during the Quad A Summit in Nashville in April 2022. Our first inductee tonight is Sergeant Major Gregory M. Chambers from the class of 2020. Please look at the strains.
Greg Chambers was born in 1966 in Yakima, Washington. He joined the Army on November 2nd, 1987. During his assignments at Fort Ord, California, in Korea, and at Fort Eustis, Virginia, he trained hundreds of soldiers on the UH-60 Black Hawk helicopter. In March 1996, as a staff sergeant, Greg joined the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment Airborne, an assignment that would change the course of his career. There, he was quickly identified as a unique leader and mentor, and was deployed 10 times to combat throughout the global war on terrorism, all with Army Special Operations Aviation. From 1996 to 1998, his responsibilities included being the Special Operations Training Company Green Platoon non-commissioned officer in charge. And from 1998 to 2001, He was the D Company, first of the 160th MH-60 Defensive Arm Penetrator Platoon Sergeant. In 2001, as Master Sergeant and Company First Sergeant for Alpha Company, 2nd Battalion, he was responsible for the sustainment and maintenance for one of the most advanced Army aircraft, the MH-47E Chinook. After September 11, 2001, Alpha Company was one of the first Army elements deployed in the global war on terror. Serving on the aircraft carrier Kitty Hawk in the Arabian Sea, Greg helped ready the unit for its role in the longest ever U.S. military helicopter flight and took part in other operations that targeted senior terrorist leaders and saved numerous Allied and American lives. Between 2001 and late 2005, Chambers was back and forth many times between the U.S. and Afghanistan, where he trained officers and enlisted personnel in Special Operations Aviation Forces combat skills. After graduation in 2006 from the U.S. Army Sergeant's Major Academy, he became the Command Sergeant Major of the 4th Battalion of the 160th, responsible for building an aviation maintenance, flight crew member, and aviation support structure for the MH-47G and MH-60L aircraft. He led the battalion into its first combat deployment in Afghanistan in 2007, and through 2009 led several other combat deployments and training exercises. From 2009 to 2011, as Command Sergeant Major for the most lethal aviation task force in the Army, 1st Battalion of the 160th SOAR, he established training and maintenance programs to keep the task force at optimum effectiveness. From 2011 to 2014, as the Regimental Command Sergeant Major for the 160th SOAR, Command Sergeant Major Chambers established numerous initiatives that made the enlisted soldiers within the regiment some of the most sought-after personnel in the Army. In 2014, he became the Command Sergeant Major for the U.S. Army Special Operations Aviation Command at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where he helped train more than 6,000 soldiers, warrant officers, and commissioned officers annually. He developed a strong enlisted talent management program, always emphasizing MOS progression and career development. This fostered and grew adaptive and knowledgeable soldiers, those who could address complex problems with increased productivity. In March 2016, Greg became the 15th Command Sergeant Major of the Army Aviation Branch at the U.S. Army Aviation Center of Excellence at Fort Rucker, Alabama. Over the next 2 years, he helped advise a leadership team that trained and mentored 35,000 aviation personnel. He was instrumental in establishing the Aviation Maintenance Training Program, and he helped reorganize existing programs to achieve a more lethal aviation force. In one example, CSM Chambers single-handedly wrote the policy and developed a standing operating procedure to support a USACE program to provide up to $650 towards civilian credentialing and licenses for enlisted soldiers and warrant officers. Since May 2018, Sergeant Major Chambers has been the Army's Chief of the Nominative Sergeant Major Program Office. Throughout his career, Greg Chambers has been the epitome of selfless service and has demonstrated amazing leadership and vision. He has set and lived the standard, but his real passion has always been to guide younger soldiers, always emphasizing MOS progression and career development. His legacy is a world-leading, flexible, innovative, and professional Army Aviation enlisted soldier. For these accomplishments, please welcome Sergeant Major Gregory M. Chambers to the Army Aviation Hall of Fame.
Please come forward, Sergeant Major Chambers, with your Hall of Fame escort, Command Sergeant Major Retired Buford Thomas, Jr.
So first and foremost, thank you, Quad A, General Crosby, General Slosher, General Munt, General Sinclair, and Mr. Bill Harris. At the nominal level, I've had the privilege of working with Quad A under your leadership. You've done an absolutely phenomenal job. It's been mentioned that NCOs are the backbone of the Army. Well, Janice Arena this is why it's going to take so long, I'm sorry. Janice Arena is the backbone of Quad A. Thank you, Miss Janice, for everything you do for this awesome organization. And all of us, you are absolutely wonderful. I would like to thank Command Sergeant Major Buford Thomas for being my escort. Buford, you've been one of my biggest mentors in my military career. You're a great leader, advocate, and you've always provided pinpoint guidance for me. Even on our long SWATSy runs, when you tried to run our students into the ground. I know he's not here tonight, but I would also like to thank CSM Cliff O'Brien. Cliff, you gave me a chance to succeed, although may I have challenged your decision numerous times. I appreciate the opportunity to be part of your team. I'm absolutely thankful for this recognition, for the pure and simple fact. I accept this recognition for the hundreds of personnel that made it happen, or who were responsible for me standing here tonight. Major General Pepin told me once, who was my battalion commander, it's a team of teams that makes the team successful. I've just been fortunate throughout my military career to be on great teams. A week ago, a distant bell rang. It was my first platoon leader from Bravo, 3rd and 123rd. That first team is what kept me in the Army. The personnel that were on that team went on to become outstanding leaders in our Army and in our country. Without their leadership and their commitment, I would have left the Army. And that team at Fort Ord instilled structure and discipline, which led me to succeed, kinda, in the following teams: Bravo 2-2, First Staff and Faculty, SOATSy, Delta 1-160, Alpha 2-160, 4-160, 1-160, 160th Regiment, our SOAC, United States Army Aviation Center of Excellence, and now the Chief of Staff of the Army, SMA's office. My last team is my family. Team Chambers. Excuse me. Becky, Dylan, and Ryan. The three of you gone through a lot, and I absolutely in your debt for your sacrifices. So great of your, and proud of all your accomplishments. Becky is a pilot in our Army. Congratulations on 20 years of service to our country. It's been tough, but you've made great sacrifices to serve and take care of our family. Dylan, thank you for your service as an infantryman in our Army. That's a tough job, son. Ryan, you're the smartest of all the Chambers family members. I love you all. To my sister who is here tonight, thank you, Tracy, for being such a wonderful person, taking care of Mom, Dad, and Marty. I know it's been tough. Mom and Joan and Doug, my wonderful in-laws. Without your love and care, I couldn't, or Becky couldn't do what we do. Robin, my sister-in-law, who's also here tonight. Robin, the Chambers would not be successful without you. I know it's hard. I know I give you a hard time at times, but understand you're a team of yourself and a team of one that makes us the team successful. Lastly, to the soldiers of our great branch, above the best really means something. When you understand what it really means, we are responsible for taking the tip of the spear to the fight and protecting them while they are on their objective. NSDQ, above the best, Army strong. Thank you.
Here to help Sergeant Major Chambers celebrate are his wife, CW4 Becky Chambers, son PFC Dylan Chambers, who I met earlier, son Ryan Chambers, sister Tracy Bishop, sister-in-law Robin Barber, and friends Claire and Ian Curry. Please stand up and let the audience recognize you. Our next inductee this evening, also from the class of 2020, is Chief Warrant Officer 5, Douglas M. Englund. Please direct your attention to the screen.
Doug Englund is the son of an Air Force veteran. He was born in September 1968 on Bergstrom Air Force Base. Enlisting right out of high school in July 1986, Doug became a UH-1 Huey crew chief with assignments in Germany and Fort Benning, and flew on combat missions in Desert Shield and Desert Storm. After a stint in the Colorado Army National Guard, Doug came back on active duty, became a warrant officer, and graduated from flight school, becoming a CH-47 pilot. He was assigned to Korea and then, based in Germany, flew combat missions in Bosnia and Kosovo. In May 1998, he joined the 160th SOAR Airborne and quickly became flight lead and standardization officer for A Company, 2nd Battalion. On October 19, 2001, almost immediately after the terror attacks on 9/11, Doug was the fully mission-qualified pilot in the lead aircraft of a force of 10 helicopters and 65 fixed-wing aircraft into Afghanistan on the longest helicopter air assault in U.S. military history. Logging more than 14 hours, refueling in flight 4 times, and covering more than 1,400 nautical miles, Chief Warrant Officer 5 Englund earned his first Distinguished Flying Cross for his performance on this grueling mission. In February 2011, with 5 others, Doug began planning this country's most highly classified mission in the War on Terror. After 2 months of planning and rehearsal, Doug became overall flight lead in Operation Neptune Spear. On May 1, 2011, he successfully led the assault force through a fully integrated and highly sophisticated air defense network, arrived at the objective undetected, and delivered the ground forces to the target. Flawlessly reacting to multiple contingencies, including the loss of an aircraft, his actions allowed the ground force to complete its extremely high-risk mission, ensuring accomplishment. While returning the assault force to friendly territory, they came in direct conflict with other non-U.S. aircraft. He took evasive action and returned all U.S. forces to safety. For his heroism, Doug was awarded his first Silver Star. On September 14, 2011, while piloting a Chinook and leading 5 others over a known area of densely populated insurgent activity, Doug heard a distress call from Special Operations Forces under heavy enemy fire. 1 soldier had been badly wounded and needed immediate evacuation. Sending 3 of his Chinooks back to base, Doug and another Chinook flew to the incident site. As the other Chinook lifted the wounded soldier, and as both Chinooks took enemy fire, Doug flew in a tight circle just feet above the ground, drawing fire to his aircraft, while his crew members suppressed the enemy fire with miniguns and M240 machine guns. The wounded soldiers were safely evacuated to critical care, ensuring their survival. For his courage and heroism, and acting in utter disregard for his own well-being, Doug was awarded his 2nd Silver Star. Mr. England has trained and mentored more than 1,000 aviators and enlisted crew members, and has met and briefed all levels of the chain of command, from the President of the United States and the Secretary of Defense on down. For his last position in the Army, he worked directly for the Secretary of the Army as Senior Warrant Officer Advisor for Talent Management. His current mission is as a candidate for the Tennessee Senate this election year. CW-5 England has flown and logged over 7,000 hours in fixed and rotary wing aircraft, with 34 combat tours, executing over 2,500 missions, many times returning in helicopters riddled with holes. Doug has been awarded 3 Distinguished Flying Crosses and was the only active duty U.S. aviator with 2 Silver Stars during the global war on terror. With unwavering mission focus, no aviator in the history of the 160th has taken on more responsibilities and achieved a higher level of excellence than CW-5 Doug England. Soldier, officer, aviator, and special operations warrior, standardization officer, flight lead, and instructor pilot, he has demonstrated professionalism and superior tactical and technical competence on some of our nation's most classified missions. His impact on Army aviation, and indeed the history of the nation, cannot be overstated. Please welcome to the Army Aviation Hall of Fame, CW-5 Douglas M. England.
Congratulations. Please come forward, Mr. England, with your Hall of Fame escort, CW-5 retired Dean Brown.
Wow, I truly appreciate it. I think for the first time in my career, my wife is finally impressed. But please ask her or ask the table behind her. But thank you so much. Thank you for this award. Thank you, Quad A. And for the first time, speaking in front of hundreds of people, I'm actually fairly nervous. Normally I'm not, but tonight I'm fairly nervous. But I thank you for everybody that have come far and wide to be here for tonight. I am truly beside myself to be amongst those that have gone before us and my good friend and mentor, Dean Brown, that are in the Hall of Fame. Never have I ever thought when I was an AIT student back in the 80s going through Fort Rucker, going through flight school, walking the halls of the Hall of Fame, that I would be on the wall. Did I ever think that I would be amongst that crowd? And I'm truly humbled. But as a reminder, some of this information is dated, and I'll explain some of that. I did lose the candidacy, by the way. But I'm amongst Night Stalkers and amongst aviators that are doing the deed tonight. So please, on your own, please raise a glass for those that are still in harm's way. Because there are those that are doing the deeds right now in our behalf while we are drinking wine tonight, that the same heroic events that you see tonight that are happening tonight. So please keep them in your minds. So what you know of me after a 33-year wonderful career in the Army, I wouldn't have traded anything for any money in the world, because I gained appreciation for all the ranks and all the responsibilities across the Army Aviation in the entire profession. So there were many, many missions where I should have never come home. Would not have come home to my beautiful wife, kids, and now grandkids if it weren't for that mechanic to make sure that aircraft was in top shape. If it wasn't for that door gunner that wasn't true to their sights to make sure that first shot on round helped us come home. And I will say, and maybe there's a little bit of post-traumatic stress, but that ever almighty flight engineer on the aircraft popping me on the back of the head, telling me I'm making the right decision or the wrong decision. But I will tell you, I was never alone. All those medals and ribbons that I've earned on my chest and are now sitting on the walls was never alone. It was always a team effort. Always a team effort. Minimum of 6 crew on an MH-47. I believe in it so much that when I was offered at one time a higher award than the rest of the team on the crew, I respectfully declined, so we all walked away with the same award. And one of those missions was on here tonight. To all you crew dogs and crew chiefs, my hat's off to you. I'm here today because of you. I love you. So many mentors in my lifetime, way too many to mention, but I can't pass up the opportunity for a few appreciations tonight. So before I go on too long, I want to pay a public respect for John Shipley. He taught me more than he ever knew. He knew more than I ever, he forgot more than I ever knew, the old phrase. But with his guidance in my current command with Keith, Rob, Ryan, Frank, Grady, and Terry, I know now with this event going on and future summits where modernization and support is more important than ever, we got to stay ahead of it. We must go above and beyond flight. We must go further, faster, more than we've ever done before, because it's non-negotiable. The future's now, and I thank Mr. Shipley for that. He instilled that into me, so I thank him for that. And Mr. Downer, thank you for carrying the torch for that. Fellow flight leads for far exceeded my accomplishments because they are doing it today, and a legend in my mind and my mentor, just comical, Beef, Torso, Cosmo, Ahmed, okay, his name is Randy, Bruno, Shady, Torch, Ryan, Soley, Balls as in baseball, Spicoli and on. I know it sounds like a comic series, but they are my mentors. For world-class leaders from company commanders, Joe McConville, Mike Lewis, Greg Chambers, we would have not come home off the Kitty Hawk if you were not our leaders that night and those days. Jim Viola, Joe Aoki, Bruce Tufty, Brett Jackson, Jeff Sino, Generals J.D. Thurman, mentors, Daly, Palumbo, General Schlosser, Mangum. Okay, I'm not going to cry when I mention General Mangum's name. I'm not going to do it. General Huntmacher, General Peterson, Evans, Ryan, and McGee. I have been blessed with decision makers that led when leading was necessary and to empower others to lead when they were in charge. I recognize you don't always have to be up front. We must never forget those that paid the ultimate sacrifice, because through the course of my career, we have lost many, many friends, because I know that they would rather die than quit. They were warriors to the end. I will miss each one of you every day. Your loved ones that were left behind, if there are Gold Star members in this crowd tonight, my hat's off to you. You have my respect for life above everything. So all my fellow Hall of Fame recipients, this recognition isn't without sacrifice. We've all missed birthdays, holidays, proms. Yes, proms. Sorry, Alex. I'll never live that one down, but I was sorry. We were going out to the number one terrorist in the world. We all did it for something. Maybe it's pride in ourselves, maybe our nation. But because I wanted to be the best damn soldier I wanted to be the mentor for my kids. I wanted to be the mentor for our brothers and sisters in arms, because it pays off in the end to be a mentor, to be a teacher, to be an example. That premonition was when I knew that life is short. My dad passed away in August last year. So he is not here tonight. He would have been here if COVID was not an occurrence. So I love you, Dad. He's here with us tonight. So life is short. God has a plan. Live it to the fullest. I love you, Tina, my wife for 33 years. Chris, Alex, Katie, Liz, my mom, Kathy and Marion, and my brother David. So be that example. Be that mentor. Army strong, above the desk. Night stalkers don't quit. Legends never die. Godspeed. Thank you.
Here to help Mr. England celebrate are wife Tina, daughter Alexandra McDonald, and her husband, Staff Sergeant John McDonald, daughter Catherine and her friend Matt Briggs, daughter Elizabeth and her friend Colin Witherington, son Captain Chris England, mother Carol England, and friends Marion and Kathy Hanjay, and Dalton and Christina Temple. Would you please stand and be recognized? Our next inductee this evening, and the last from the class of 2020, is Lieutenant Colonel Ace A. Casalio, who is deceased. Please direct your attentions to the screen.
Ace Allen Casalio was born in 1946 and grew up as a cowboy riding horses on the family ranch in Northern California. He was independent and self-reliant. He took charge and got things done. His role model and hero was his maternal grandfather, who had served in World War I with the 269th Aero Squadron in France. Early on, his grandfather gave Ace a 19th century U.S. cavalry saddle. Imagining himself riding with the horse cavalry as a boy, it's no wonder that Ace ended up in the Air Cavalry. Ace enlisted in the Army in February 1966 and graduated from OCS and flight school in 1967. Flying helicopters came naturally to him, and in December 1967, he arrived in Vietnam, assigned to D Troop, 3rd Squadron, 5th Cavalry in the Mekong Delta. Joining the War Wagon Scout Platoon and flying the new OH-6 Loach, Ace quickly showed an innate ability to seek, find, and destroy the enemy. His situational awareness and forward thinking consistently placed him at the center of combat or rescue situations. On January 25, 1969, after extending his Vietnam tour, Ace displayed extraordinary and selfless courage when he attacked and destroyed a fortified NVA machine gun bunker that held a 90-man U.S. Army infantry company pinned down for over 2 hours. After other pilots made several unsuccessful attempts to destroy the bunker, Ace landed his AH-1 Cobra to swap it for one of the troops' OH-6s. With complete disregard for his personal safety, Ace attacked the bunker head-on with miniguns blazing. This aggressive action momentarily suppressed the enemy's response and enabled him to land his aircraft on top of the bunker while his crew chief tossed a grenade into the bunker's gun port. For his courage and gallantry, then First Lieutenant Casalio was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. In his 2 tours, Ace was shot down by enemy gunfire 6 times and was awarded every medal for valor except the Medal of Honor, some multiple times. He was one of the most decorated soldiers of the Vietnam War. Ace honored the tradition of the U.S. cavalry, carrying a Civil War cavalry saber into battle and to troop functions and special events, proudly wearing an 1860s-era cavalry uniform. For his courage, his leadership, his dynamism, and his gallantry, Ace was the man whom other air cavalry troopers strove to emulate. After Vietnam, Ace served in Germany. His OER read, quote, "Best attack helicopter company commander in Europe, if not the Army. Exciting, dynamic, aggressive, innovative, and smart. Boundless enthusiasm. Flabbergasts those who aren't quite as quick. He makes things happen, better at his job than any I have ever seen. A warrior," end quote. Back in the States, recognized as an innovator and visionary, Ace helped develop policy and tactics for Army aviation. He went on to the Command and General Staff College, and then in 1984, as a lieutenant colonel, became commander of the 4th Aviation Training Battalion at Fort Rucker. Clearly being groomed for higher command positions, sadly, his career was cut short by health problems, and he medically retired from the Army in 1986. Returning to the family ranch where he grew up, Ace died in 1993 while undergoing a heart transplant. It was, as cowboys say, his last roundup. But he left a lasting legacy. Major General Rudolph Ostovich III said of Ace, quote, "His physical presence at the point of attack, whether in the rice paddies in the Mekong Delta or at the podium of a classroom in Fort Rucker, made the difference between success and failure," end quote. Ace was an exemplary leader, an Army aviation visionary who challenged and inspired all to be the best they could be. Please welcome to the Army Aviation Hall of Fame, Lieutenant Colonel Ace Allen Casalio.
Thank you. Unfortunately, Lieutenant Colonel Casalio's family could not be here, so Major General Francis and Mr. Bill Harris will unveil his portrait. My job originally was supposed to be to receive the medal for his family, but I have another position. So on behalf of the Casalio family, I want to express their gratitude to the Hall of Fame for this very distinct honor. I'm sorry that Ace's brother Rex was not able to be with us tonight. Apparently his wife is ill. And we are going to represent this award at the next reunion of the Light Horse Troopers in the spring of next year. Thank you. And that concludes the 2020 class, and now we will induct the class of 2021. Our first inductee for the class of 2021 is Command Sergeant Major retired Todd Glidewell. Please direct your attention to the screens.
Throughout his 33 years in the Army, Command Sergeant Major retired Todd L. Glidewell served in roles of increasing responsibility. He rose to the most senior possible enlisted leadership positions at the tactical, operational, and strategic levels. There are 4 key nominative billets that an Army Aviation CSM can hold. No one has ever held all 4. Only CSM Glidewell has held 3 of them: U.S. Army Combat Readiness Safety Center, U.S. Army Aviation Center of Excellence, and the U.S. Army Aviation and Missile Command. Todd Glidewell was born in 1963. He grew up in Northeast Pennsylvania and joined the Army in 1981, just 10 days after graduating from high school. His first assignment to Fort Devens, Massachusetts, with National Guard technicians and Vietnam veterans formed a foundation of aviation maintenance that would guide him for the rest of his career. His first overseas assignment took him to Panama. There, he completed 2 deployments to Honduras, as well as 2 additional deployments to Colombia in support of disaster relief and drug interdiction. He then served as platoon sergeant in Korea and became quality control NCO in charge and technical inspector for the UH-60A, the UH-1H, OH-58C, and OH-58. When he returned to the United States in 1991, Todd began an almost 2-decade association with the 101st Airborne Division, where he was selected to serve as Flight Platoon Sergeant, First Sergeant, and Battalion Standardization Instructor with the 101st Combat Aviation Brigade, gaining additional experience in company-level tactical operations. While serving as First Sergeant for the 1st Support Battalion, Multiple National Force, and Observers in the Sinai, his company flew over 3,000 hours with 100% mission success, while having elements dispersed up to 250 kilometers apart. On completion of his tour, he returned to the 101st, where he took the immediate maintenance company, providing direct support to the division's 126 Black Hawks. Under First Sergeant Glidewell's direct leadership, his unit was able to reduce UH-60 phase time from an average of 68 days to just 30 days. Clearly, First Sergeant Glidewell was becoming a true master of his trade. In January 2003, at the Port of Jacksonville, his team received 250 helicopters, 5,500 pieces of rolling stock, and other division-associated equipment, which he and his team prepared and shipped in just 19 days. Upon arrival at the port of Shuaibah, Kuwait, they cleared their unit's equipment in 9 days and crossed the border to engage in Operation Iraqi Freedom combat operations in Iraq. After a rigorous selection process, CSM Glidewell was selected as the 101st Combat Aviation Brigade Command Sergeant Major and provided outstanding leadership as his brigade fought its way to Mosul. A year later, the brigade would find itself back in Iraq. During this time, the unit achieved 167% of their personnel retention rate objective, leading the 101st Airborne Division with 69% re-enlisting for their existing duty assignments. This was a real testament to the command climate and esprit that he helped create. A huge proponent of soldier safety throughout his career, he next became the very first Command Sergeant Major of the U.S. Army Combat Readiness Safety Center in 2007. Over a 2-year period, he assisted in the development of a campaign that led to the Army's lowest accident rates since records were kept in the 1970s. During this assignment, he also collaborated with the College of the American Soldier to provide a degree path for soldiers to obtain a college degree and certification in safety training. From 2009 to 2012, Todd served as the U.S. Army Aviation Center of Excellence Aviation Branch and Fort Rucker Command Sergeant Major, acting as the primary enlisted advisor to the commanding general with a $2 billion budget for training at 6 locations. He tackled complex problems, such as how to grow the branch to 13 brigades while developing methods to train and produce 25,000 soldiers. In addition, he transformed outdated processes using technology to produce the first paperless NCO Academy in Training and Doctrine Command. He also directed oversight of 2 non-commissioned officer academies, one of which was named the best NCO Academy in the Army. In his last assignment in the Army, CSM Glidewell served as the CSM of the Redstone Arsenal and the Aviation and Missile Command, the multi-billion-dollar aviation missile wholesale parts supplier to the Army. He provided unparalleled, user-level, subject matter expertise and perspective to AMCOM leadership and the program management offices. Always looking for opportunities for soldiers to grow their skill sets, CSM Glidewell sought out training for soldiers with industry and opened up the Logistics Assistance Representative University training to soldiers at the depots and Redstone Arsenal. He retired from the Army in 2014. CSM Glidewell's decades-long career shows the effect that one person can have on hundreds of thousands of soldiers. There is no doubt that the leaders he has developed through his example and his mentorship will benefit the Army and Army Aviation branch for decades to come. CSM Glidewell's awards include the Army Distinguished Service Medal, the Legion of Merit with 2 oak leaf clusters, the Bronze Star Medal with 1 oak leaf cluster, among many others. For always putting soldiers first, for his amazing professional expertise as a warrior leader, maintainer, and mentor with over 2,000 flight hours, and for constantly giving back to the Army Aviation community, please welcome to the Army Aviation Hall of Fame, Command Sergeant Major Todd Glidewell.
Congratulations. Please come forward, Command Sergeant Major Glidewell, with your Hall of Fame escort, Sergeant Major retired, and my dear friend and adopted son, Ken Rich.
Short story up front. Then Staff Sergeant Promotable Glidewell, Sergeant First Class Rich, and brand new Lieutenant was our platoon leader. When everybody else was in Desert Storm, we got the extended tour in Korea together, and we learned a lot about each other. It was a good time. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ken. Good evening. Thank you. It's great to see such an incredible gathering of distinguished aviation professionals, patriots here this evening. You honor us with your presence. We appreciate that you took time out of your daily lives to be here with us tonight. I apologize up front if I don't recognize everyone, but wise counsel told me when I was preparing for this and reminded me that if you haven't thanked those in your life by now that were responsible, then you're probably running a little late. I would like to commend the Quad A leadership, Janice, and the entire Quad A team for their perseverance to ensure these events happen and continue to happen even during these crazy times that we live. I would also like to start by thanking God for his guidance, his strength, and for surrounding me with astonishing people and being afforded with great opportunities as I served. We have truly been blessed. It has been an incredible journey, and we are eternally indebted to those who serve this profession, Army Aviation, our Army, and this nation. It is a distinct honor to have this opportunity tonight to share this moment with my fellow inductees and those gathered here this evening. I would like to thank Sergeant Major Hawk, Buford Thomas, Rich Mitchell, and many others for their part in this nomination process. I'm still a little taken back. I know several members of the Hall of Fame, and they are mentors. And I continue to look up to many of them. It's an incredible honor being inducted into this group. Not sure if I'm worthy of the honor or the accolades. However, collectively, the group of soldiers, civilians, and their families that have served soldier to soldier with me over the decades truly have deserved this honor and recognition tonight. Many of you are seated here in this audience. It is you that led us, had the confidence in our ability, celebrated and rejoiced in our success, as well as endured the hardships that we faced together. The greatest honor that an NCO can take part in is to train, coach, lead, and mentor America's sons and daughters into cohesive teams, to see what they're capable of, to see them succeed. To our extended Army family, we have been fortunate to have served and deployed with some of the very best and finest that have ever served this nation. We have forged what goes beyond friendships. Many of you have become brothers and sisters. You are closer than family. This group was represented by those who wore the uniform and some who did not. Some who continue to serve our ranks even after they retire. You are truly the glue that bonds our Army together. They are the key to our success in this aviation community. Army may never know the true impact of those that work tirelessly behind the scenes, day in and day out, truly a team of teams, ensuring that people are first and this mission happens. We are honored to have one of those teams that meant a lot to me here tonight. Colonel Greg Gass, Major General Todd Royer and his beautiful bride, Sergeant Major Brad Smith, and CW5 Pat O'Reilly, all members of the 101st Aviation during Operations Iraqi Freedom. It is teams like this that we gather our strength from across the community. I would also like to extend a special thanks to Ken Wrench, my Hall of Fame escort, who traveled down here from Newport News to take part in this ceremony. You are a true aviation patriot and example for all to emulate. Finally, to my wife, Tony. A soldier, a leader, a mom, a nana, and friend. You've raised 3 gorgeous daughters, pushed them through college and into successful careers. Done an amazing job, and I am proud. Final stretch. Again, to all of you here tonight, thank you for what you do to our soldiers, do for our soldiers, our civilians, this family and this nation. May God watch over you, our military, those serving in harm's way, and those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice above the best. Thank you.
Great job. Great job. Here to help Command Sergeant Major Glidewell celebrate are Major General Todd Royer and his wife Mary Lou, Colonel Retired Greg Gass, Command Sergeant Major Brad Smith and his wife Jennifer, and Colonel Retired Joe Dunaway. Would you please stand and be recognized, please? Our next inductee this evening is Chief Warrant Officer 5 Retired Daniel R. Gelotta, also from the class of 2021. Watch the screens and you'll hear about it.
He was an active duty soldier for over 40 years, a special operator for 37 years, and an Army aviator for over 30 years. CW5 Daniel R. Gelotta has done it all. He's been assigned to every Army Special Operations Aviation unit that exists and has accumulated over 8,000 flight hours with 3,500 night vision goggle hours during campaigns from Just Cause through Inherent Resolve. CW5 Daniel Gelotta was born in Detroit in 1957 and joined the Army in 1976, initially as an MP and later as a combat engineer. After assignments to Korea and Fort Belvoir, he attended the Special Forces Qualification Course and was assigned to 1st Battalion, 10th Special Forces Group in Bad Tolst, Germany, as a Special Forces demolition expert. Just a few years later, in 1981, while serving as a demonstration parachutist with the United States Army Golden Knights at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Dan really developed his passion for Army aviation. In 1987, after promotion to Sergeant First Class, he was notified of his acceptance to flight school as a warrant officer candidate and became qualified in the UH-60 Black Hawk. After a second tour in Korea, this time as an aviator, CW5 Gelotta was assigned to the 617th Special Operations Aviation Detachment in Fort Kobe, Panama, where he participated in his first combat action during Operation Just Cause. During this operation, he was chosen as lead pilot, taking a single MH-60 to the western area of Panama to support U.S. Navy SEAL and Special Forces teams conducting small team tactics for 30 days in a remote area. In 1990, he was assigned to D Company, 1st Battalion, 160th SOAR, where he served for the next 6 years. In this assignment, he flew assault and attack missions in support of National Command Authority directives and highly trained Special Operations Ground Forces. He achieved instructor, standardization pilot, and flight lead status in the MH-60 Defensive Armed Penetrator and deployed in support of operations in EUCOM and AFRICOM, including Operation Restore Hope and Gothic Serpent in Mogadishu, Somalia. Piloting Super 6-8, a search and rescue helicopter, during the Battle of Mogadishu, Gelotta arrived at the site of the first downed Black Hawk to deploy the search and rescue team. As the team slid down the fast ropes, Super 6-8 was hit by a rocket-propelled grenade. Despite major damage to his aircraft, Gelotta calmly remained at a hover on site until all personnel were off the ropes and on the ground. He and his crew then flew the crippled aircraft back to base, a task described in the book Black Hawk Down as, quote, maneuvering a truck on a sheet of ice, end quote. After quickly retrofitting a new helicopter with search and rescue equipment, Gelotta spent the next 18 consecutive hours searching for the crew members of the second downed Black Hawk. Over the following 11 days, Dan helped develop new personnel recovery procedures while trying to locate CW4 Mike Durant, held by enemy forces. These innovative procedures marked the advent of Special Operation Aviation's search and rescue tactics, techniques, and procedures, TTPs, that would impact Special Operations Aviation Forces for all future operations, even to this day. For the 160th, he took part in the planning for the liberation of Haiti, swiftly putting 60 helicopters on the USS America, the first time that U.S. Army combat operations were planned to deploy off a carrier. In 1995, in Bosnia, He flew missions hunting for war criminals, part of the lead force that captured the Bosnia Serb Stefan Todorovic, who was later sentenced to 10 years in prison. He next assessed for and was assigned to a highly classified special mission unit where he served for 10 years, deploying to many countries, including Bosnia, Afghanistan, and Iraq. From 2006 until 2010, he was hand-picked to command the 2nd Aviation Flight Detachment, providing rotary and fixed-wing support to the United States Military Academy at West Point. He provided aviation mentorship to Academy cadets through his professional development sessions and personal advice. And he integrated the new LUH-72 Lakota helicopter 5 years ahead of schedule. Following this tour, he was assigned to another aviation special mission unit as a fixed-wing aviator specializing in intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, and became the unit's first Command Chief Warrant Officer. In the words of another Special Operations aviator, quote, "I found it quite remarkable that Dan would join the Special Mission Unit at the age of 53 with 34 years in the Army and complete the assessment and train up at the top of his class, physically and mentally," end quote. In 2016, CW5 Gelotta retired from active duty. Dan's military awards include the Distinguished Service Medal, the Legion of Merit, the Distinguished Flying Cross, the Bronze Star with 1 oak leaf, the Defense Meritorious Service Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters, and 3 air medals. Beyond the citations for his medals, additional acknowledgement was made by General Austin Scott Miller, Commander, Resolute Support, who stated, quote, "There is a bond between the aviator and the men in the back of his aircraft, the men the aviator sets on the ground. These men know if they get in trouble, the aviator is there for them." Dan Gelotta exemplifies that trust. At Mogadishu that day, they said, "Hey Dan, thanks for holding the aircraft." But of course they knew he would. Throughout his military career, Dan has always been there, has always given of himself to the utmost, end quote. For his professionalism, his physical and mental toughness, his teamwork, his tenacity, and his commitment to never leave a fallen comrade, please welcome to the Army Aviation Hall of Fame, CW5, Daniel R. Gelotta.
Please come forward, Mr. Gelotta, with your Hall of Fame escort, Paul Price.
Number 5, almost done, gents, ladies. To say that I'm honored and humbled to accept this induction and award would be an understatement. There are so many others that deserve recognition, and I hope to represent those thousands. Living and past that are not here or never given this opportunity. The deceased and the fallen warriors of our nation's finest heroes deserve our recognition and respect always. My wife, Jane, of 31 years, is a little nervous right now because she did not get a chance to QC, quality control, this speech. And she's maybe a little afraid of what I'll say. Don't worry, Jane, I won't embarrass the family or you too much. My focus tonight will be on the support structure that is at the core of my and most of yours successes. All these people have their own lives and then through their kindness helped me along my way. Jen and I have been together a long time, and she has been at my side through many tough years, raising children by herself and following my multiple career changes. What most people don't know is that she graduated in the 4th class of women at West Point and was having a very successful Army career. Slotted to become the first female to take over an assault battalion S3 job when we made family and work-life choices. I basically screwed up her career. Sorry, honey. She raised 2 wonderful children, which I'll discuss later, and handled hurricanes, appendixes, and numerous multiple issues while I was deployed. The kids were a lot better off with Jane at their side and at home rather than this hamburger helper dad. Jane deployed to Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and left me at home during the largest deployments since World War II. I joined a lovely group of ladies at the 101st Brigade and was welcomed as one of the few males, I think Betsy told me the only male, in the FRG. Thanks, Betsy. Jane again deployed to Somalia with the 101st, ahead of Task Force Ranger. We left a 15-month-old child with my in-laws. I think my father-in-law lost 20 or 30 pounds in 3 months while he was caring for my son. All the while, Jane was supporting my career goals. She even tried to take off her retired lieutenant colonel rank off her name tag today so that she wouldn't be noticed in the crowd. She's an amazing woman, wife, mother, soldier, and human being. I could never repay you for all you have done for me and our family. Our son Sean was that 15-month-old child that ran his grandpa and grandmother around while we were gone to Mogadishu, but turned into a great man. He graduated West Point with a physics degree in 2015 after playing 4 years of D1 lacrosse. Served 5 years in service, 3 of which at 3160 before getting out in September of 20. He is now studying nuclear medicine. Yes, he has his mom's brains. And is in a PhD program at the University of Wisconsin. He and his wife, Emily, recently blessed us with our first grandson, Luke. Sean was the catalyst that asked questions about Hall of Fame to senior officers, wrote letters, and pursued answers to the process. Could not be prouder. Hey, could not be proud of you, son. At this point in time, my daughter is melting in her chair because she is wondering what's next. Aaron graduated an engineer management degree. See, I remembered. From West Point in 2017, and yes, I am the slacker in the family. Being a retired warrant officer and the non-West Pointer, Erin played lacrosse there and saw her program go to D1 before she graduated. Erin had a bug for aviation long before she went to the academy. She flew aerobatics with friends of mine as a teenager and has a joy of flying rarely seen by most commissioned officers. She has been on 2 deployments in the last 3 years to Eastern Europe and returned early 4 days ago to attend this ceremony. She's a diehard Pats fan and currently dating an Apache pilot, Chris, who also is in attendance. Erin, I can't wait to see what happens next in your career and life and could not be prouder of who you are. Coworkers and friends will round out my support structure discussion and have guided me through my career and life. I hope I don't forget too many. Stan, Mike, Wendy, Cliff, Donovan, Mark, Paul, Ned, Austin, Trey, Max, Tony, Teresa, Whit, John, Herb, Kenny, Scott, Claire, Tom, Betsy, numerous commanders, senior warrant officers, and enlisted soldier. These family members and friends, soldiers, were truly inspirational in my life. And in the many years or another, contributed to who I am and what I have accomplished. Some have passed away and will never be forgotten. Lastly, Quade has done a phenomenal job putting this symposium together Without getting political, the last 2 years have been a disaster for public gatherings, and we are not out of the weeds yet. Most of us are trying to do the very best we can with the restrictions and policy put on us. I especially thank Janice for all her efforts in making this an incredible, successful event. God bless America.
Here to help Mr. Gelotta celebrate are his wife Jane, son Sean, daughter Captain Erin Gelotta, and her friend Captain Chris Kegley, Major General retired Tom and Betsy Garrett, and Major Josh Castle. Please stand and be recognized. Our final inductee this evening is also from the class of 2021, Captain retired James E. Stein. Please watch the screens and find out about him.
Some men are lucky and some men are brave, but Captain James E. Stein must be among the luckiest brave men who ever flew a helicopter in combat. He saved many lives and survived being shot down a total of 10 times, once losing 3 scout helicopters in a single day. James Stein was born in 1946 and was a 5-sport letterman in high school who went on to play college football at Southern Utah and worked heavy construction for his father on dam projects in California. To say he is from a military family is an understatement. His father and 7 uncles served in the Army, the Navy, or Air Force during World War II in Korea. His brother Tom served as an Army Huey crew chief. Drafted into the Army in 1966, Jim was commissioned an engineer second lieutenant in 1967 and then attended flight school. His first assignment as an Army aviator was, of course, Vietnam. In April 1969, he found himself reporting into the 335th Assault Helicopter Company, the Cowboys. During his service with the 335th, Stein flew Huey Slicks and Bravo gunships over the Mekong Delta. Jim especially loved to fly Nighthawk missions to help troops caught in ambushes. He was devoted to his unit and its mission and became one of the most trusted and respected pilots in the unit. He would recount years later that, quote, "As a member of the helicopter crew, you experience one of the tightest bonds the military has to offer. One thing you find is that in a helicopter unit, you all learn to count on each other. What one does is in relation to what the others do. If a helicopter goes down, you count on a unit helicopter for the rescue. After the mission, you all try to help each other," end quote. A true leader, he voluntarily extended, spending 21 months in Vietnam and took no leave at all. Returning to the States at Fort Carson, Colorado, he completed a civilian fixed-wing course, becoming an Army dual-rated aviator, and then volunteered to return to Vietnam. He first transitioned to the OH-6 Cayuse Loach at Fort Rucker. In March 1972, he was assigned to the famed 717th Air Cavalry, known as the Ruthless Riders, just as North Vietnam launched its massive Easter offensive. Now a captain and platoon leader, he joined B Troop, the Aero Scout platoon, known as the Scalp Hunters, in the Central Highlands. Every member of the Scalp Hunters had to volunteer for that very hazardous duty. His scout mission in the Loach was much different from his first tour missions in the Huey. The scout mission involved slow, low-level reconnaissance, looking for the enemy, finding him, and determining his intentions, engaging him to develop the situation, always teaming with Cobra attack helicopters to increase chances of survival. It also placed him in the right place at the right time to effect the rescue of downed air crews and besieged American advisors, as well as helping to extract wounded soldiers. His greatest reward was the chance to save lives, and he saved many. He became an inspiration to all who heard of his extraordinary feats. Many said he was the bravest man they'd ever known. He flew with a mindset, quote, "You can be scared, but you can never be afraid to do it," end quote. On June 19, 1972, Jim was shot down for the 10th and last time. During an air cavalry operation northeast of Khartoum, he volunteered to scout an enemy bunker after being informed that other aircraft the day before had curtailed the mission due to intense small arms, automatic weapons, and large caliber anti-aircraft fire. While skillfully maneuvering his helicopter into position to observe the area, he and his observer came under heavy fire, wounding both of them. Jim took a round in his right knee. In the words of this distinguished Flying Cross citation, quote, "While making the Mayday call, Captain Stein directed his aircraft toward the nearest safe landing zone 2 kilometers away. The severity of his wound prevented him from operating the pedals of his aircraft. Undaunted by the odds stacked against him and operating under great physical duress due to the extreme pain and loss of blood, Captain Stein directed his crippled aircraft to the minute landing zone, instructing his observer on the use of the pedals. Immediately after touchdown, he passed out as a result of his wounds, saving the lives of himself and his observer," end quote. Returning to the States and staying in the service, he graduated from the Adjutant General Career Course and took medical retirement. After the service, Jim just kept on giving of himself by helping other amputees take up skiing for both physical and mental therapy. With the U.S. ski team, he helped organize fundraising celebrity ski races, and during the summers, he organized many amputee golf tournaments, including 2 national-level events. In addition to his 2 Silver Stars, Jim has received 4 Distinguished Flying Crosses, 2 Bronze Stars, 94 Air Medals, 2 with V for Valor, the Purple Heart, and the Vietnamese Gallantry Crosses with gold and silver stars. Legendary Aero Scout pilot Jim Stein is the epitome of an Army aviator. He is the personification of bravery, skill, and selfless sacrifice in devotion to duty. Duty to his country, to his unit, and to his comrades. His deeds serve as timeless examples for the generations of Army aviators that follow. Please welcome to the Army Aviation Hall of Fame, Captain James E. Stein.
Congratulations. Please come forward with your escort, Colonel Bill Reeder.
I want you to look at those other 5. The dedication they've put in, anywhere from 20 to 34 years. That's the leadership of Army Aviation. I only spent 6 years in it. Forgive me. but I enjoyed every minute of it. I don't know if you could call it I was in the Army Aviation. I was an engineer officer who flew helicopters. And I became good at it because my commander called me in one day and said, "Lieutenant Stein, our mess sergeant wants a water tower. And you're the only engineer officer I have." So I got my platoon together and we built this massive water tower. And a few days later, we put the water on it. And that night, clerk came in to me and said, "Lieutenant Stein, the mess sergeant is after you with a cleaver because your tower fell down." So the next day, my commander called me in and said, "Lieutenant, I hope you're a better pilot than an engineer because you're going to fly every day." And I got to fly. 90% of my time was combat. And I loved it. I truly did. And I loved the people around me who flew. So I'm not going to take much more of your other time. I just want to thank all of you and the Quad A for this great honor. Thank you.
Here to help Captain Stein celebrate are Mr. Mike Law, Lieutenant Colonel Vance Gammons, and of course, Bill Reeder. Would you stand, please, and be recognized? That concludes our ceremony tonight.
No, it doesn't. I'm trying to tell you, we got a little surprise for Hal. So General Schlosser and General Crosby could come forward. We meant to do this a couple of years ago under General Schlosser's reign, but you'll understand something in a minute. Joe has got the voice here, and we'll explain to you momentarily. Hang on. There it is. There's Jeff. Okay. Stand by.
The Art and Dottie Keston Quad A Founders Award was established in 2012 to honor individuals who have provided long-term, sustained, and significant support to the Army Aviation Association of America. This award is named for Art and Dottie Keston, who started Army Aviation magazine in 1953 and then turned their subscribers into members when they formed the Army Aviation Association of America with the support of Lieutenant General, then Colonel, Bob Williams in 1957. Art served as a member of the Quad A board and the executive vice president of Quad A from 1957 to 1990. Dottie did all the administrative membership support from inception through that same period. Members of the Army Aviation Hall of Fame, Art and Dottie, were tireless in their efforts to grow Quad A from a few volunteers to the largest, strongest branch association of the United States Army soldiers and families. This award recognizes similar dedication and carries on their legacy of support to Quad A. Colonel retired Hal Kushner is one such individual. A life member since 2003, over the years, he has served in a variety of roles at the Quad A national level. He was inducted into the Army Aviation Hall of Fame in 2001 and later served as chairman of the Army Aviation Hall of Fame Board of Trustees from 2012 through 2017. On September the 1st, 2020, he was selected to serve on the Quad A National Executive Board and Group as the association's inaugural Vice President for Member and Family Wellness, providing advice to the Quad A Board on how to safely conduct Quad A planned events and adopt best practices in accordance with national, state, and local protocols, and to developing procedures to help contribute to the health and safety of the association members and their families. His advice was absolutely critical to the association navigating the complexities of the coronavirus pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Colonel Retired Dr. Hal Kushner. Congratulations.
One moment. I get to beat you.
You're not up yet, Coach.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Not yet.
I'm trying to end the program.
So ladies and gentlemen, look, we are in the company truly of heroes this evening with our 6 inductees. And, I certainly don't want to take anything away from them and also their sponsors. But this individual here, we don't do him justice by just giving him the Founders Award. This is an individual that joined the Army a very long time ago. And when he served as a flight surgeon in Vietnam, he was there about 4 months, and during a pretty tragic crash, which most of us aviators and crew members would understand, during a bad rainstorm, he basically was one of the sole survivors of that aircraft, but he tried to keep people alive for several days. He was eventually captured by the Vietnamese, by the Viet Cong, served in prison as a prisoner of war for 1,933 days. Think about that. Think about your life. Think about his life in both South Vietnam and then later up in the Hanoi Hilton, where he had several of his fellow prisoners die in his arms, but he kept many alive. When he was finally freed there at the end of the Vietnam War, he served on in both the active Army as well as the Army Reserve for a very lengthy period of time. Retired as a colonel, as well as one of the most senior ophthalmologists ever in the United States Army. He's gone on to serve many, many others over the time period, and as we just talked about, he served Quad A he was inducted, gentlemen, 20 years ago, so, some of you, that's a long time, right? For me, into the Hall of Fame. And he's done so much for us. 2 years ago, who had any idea about COVID? And we came calling and we asked Hal to come back and work with us after he'd already served very, very long periods of time, both as the chairman of the Hall of Fame as well as on the board of trustees. And he's mentored so many people, but he said, yeah, sure, I'll come back as your vice president for both members and family wellness. And he allowed us to do what is now our Mr. President and Quad A has been able to pull off, which is this extraordinary evening here, as well as the summit, our Cribbins summit that we're doing here. He is a guy of selfless service. He is the most modest person in this room. And I got to tell you that the Founders Award is the least that we can do at Quad A to thank Colonel Dr. Hal Kushner.
Seats. Take your seats, please. This is not in my script, and I thought I was filling in for Randy Jones, and I hope I did do a credible job. But I have to tell you, General Crosby, General Schlosser, Bill, General, I am a Pearl Harbor survivor. I don't know if they know that or not. My dad was a captain in the Army Air Corps serving at Pearl Harbor at Hickam Field. I was 6 months old when the Japanese bombed us. So I grew up in the fires of World War II. My dad served in the Pacific where he was seriously wounded and then came back and was in the Army-Navy Hospital in Hot Springs, Arkansas for 4 months. Then he formed up with the 99th Division, went all across Europe. I am so happy that I did grow up in the fires of World War II because we were imbued, my generation was imbued with a great sense of patriotism. And it has served me well. I joined the Army when I was in medical school in 1963, and I volunteered to go to Vietnam as a flight surgeon, and I was there 6 years. I have 2 children. My son Mike is 53. He was born 4 months after I was captured, and I had no communication with my family, of course, so I knew my wife was pregnant, but I didn't know what happened to Mike, whether he was born, whether he was a boy, whether he was healthy, what. I met him a week before his 5th birthday. 10 very good American soldiers and United States Marines died in my arms in South Vietnam. We buried them. I personally eulogized each one of them, and I can report to you that the remains of every single one has been returned to the United States, where they now lie in the shadow of their families and in the soil of their country where they belong. And the last one, Lance Corporal Dennis W. Hammond, United States Marine Corps, died in March of 1970 and was returned in 2004, 34 years after he passed away. So I was inducted in the Hall of Fame in 2001. It was one of the great honors of my life, and being able to serve in the company of great heroes and wonderful people since 2001 has been a great privilege for me. They don't owe me any award. I owe them, because I've made wonderful friends like Bill Harris, Janice Arena, and I've really met fabulous people like my adopted son, Ken Rich, and Bill Reeder, who was an escort tonight, has been my friend for almost 50 years. So thank you so much for this wonderful honor. Thank you for indulging me and listening to me. I appreciate you so much, and I'm just humbled. I have to tell you this. General Eisenhower said in 1945, when he was honored by the British, he said, "Humility must be the portion of any man who earns a claim in the blood of his fellows and the sacrifices of his friends." And that's me. Humility. I am so humbled by this, and I thank you so very, very much. Thank you.
You want to finish it up, Chief?
Yeah, okay. So, we're going to wrap up now, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for that interruption. As you can well imagine, there are many people we owe thanks to for helping the Army Aviation Hall of Fame salute our 2020 and 2021 classes of inductees. Thanks to John Fishback, our video producer, for all his coordination and support. It was very professional. And the whole Quad A team, especially Janice Arena, who takes such great care. I mean, she's the most organized woman in the world. I wish she would quit this and come work for me, and take great care of our awardees and Hall of Fame inductees. I also thank you for your attendance this evening and for your continued outstanding support for the Army Aviation Hall of Fame. On behalf of all of its members, you have our deep gratitude for your support and recognition, and you need to mark your calendars now for the 28th Hall of Fame ceremony, Nashville, Tennessee, Monday night, 4 April 2022.